Hello, hello, hello. I am live. We are live. Today, and it is new in the corner. So you guys can see me. Today I went to Wuyi. I took a trip to Wuyi, and I picked up some keys. I ended up only going to one shop just because, like, in that one shop, I got what I needed and a little bit more. And for another reason, we'll get to. So yeah, we're going to talk about what we talked about in that shop, and then we're going to talk about the teas I got and yada yada yada. So what will we be drinking today is chi jong no. This is actually a cultivar that's kind of new to me, and it's one I have to look into. It is a more wild cultivar, he said. It is something, it's not one of the major cultivars by any means. I'm actually not quite sure. I'm not, and I remember there was something about these like other kind of older cultivars that were less popular and less like less defined, I guess. So maybe it's something like I kind of remember someone telling me about this once. I'll have to look into it more. So I'm going to be drinking using my chrysanthemum cup, my Jian. So we'll talk about first of all what we talked about today, because there were some interesting things that came from the conversation with him. So I went in, and this is a maker I've known for a while, and I've been buying from for a while. And he's a good guy, makes good tea. And so I went in, and he goes, what do you want? And I go, hey, do you have anything high fired? I use that was a translation of what I said, Gaopor. And we can call it, high roasted, heavily roasted. And he goes, no, I don't. And I go, okay. And then he starts telling me about how high roasted isn't a good roast. Like, that's not what you want. And I was surprised about this. I was surprised about this because this was a guy who I thought I was like, in the past, we've talked about this, and you haven't been, because sometimes you get people, and I've mentioned this, you get some people, where's my tea pet? Is my tea pet within reach? No, my tea pet is not within reach. My table is, oh no, here it is. Sorry. You get some people, and you see this a lot actually in a couple of different tea categories, where they'll put down, if you ask for one type of tea and they don't have it or they don't like it or whatever, they'll put it down. Like this happens a lot when I go to Fuding, or if I'm at a shop and I'm trying to buy a new Fuding, like a fresh Fuding this year or last year, but they want me to buy, and they try to get me to buy kind of aged Fuding, aged white tea. They go, oh no, you don't want New Year, you want aged, like you want the gourmets, you want the cakes are the best. Yeah, there's more flavor, yada yada yada. And when my friend started talking today, and he was telling me about that the high roasted wasn't the best, it's really cute. I was a little confused. I was like, that doesn't really make sense. This is not what you've told me before. This is not, because he was saying also that you shouldn't drink high roasted, and I was like, this is not the conversation we've had before. This was the same maker who originally told me that all of this light roasted is a new trend. It's that maker. And then he says, and then I'm paraphrasing because the conversation was in Chinese, and it was, it's boss is calling me. Sorry, my boss is. I'm sorry. And so I know what he's calling. He's calling me about my bike, probably. And so I lost my train of thought. I can't pause it either. And so yeah, he's telling me about this, and then oh yeah, and it's in Chinese, so it's not this linear of a conversation. But then he starts talking about Su Hua, and I think I'm pronouncing that right. And Su or Mantu, and I'm definitely not pronouncing that right, means full, sufficient, enough. Um, similar to like if you've eaten a lot, like you've eaten a bunch of food, um, you can say like I think there's a way to be like, oh, Sula, 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 like that's enough, I'm done. It's the right amount. Um, that kind of idea. And he says, it's actually he broke out this tea because we drank a shui xian. It was a light roast. I didn't really care for it. And then he breaks out this tea, and then I was like, yeah, this is what I want. So if you kind of go look at this color, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I want. And he goes, this is not high roasted. This is Su Hua. This is sufficiently roasted. It has a sufficient roast, a proper roast. In the Discord, we were slightly discussing different words, and he explained to me, and it's funny because I've said this about teas too, about yanchas actually. He talked about once again, his wording was different, but he talked about the window. That in this window is a good roast, and you don't want it. You don't want the fire too low, but you don't want it too high. And so from what I got is that when I asked for something that was gao huo, like high fire, I was asking for something that was above this window up here. Which, oh my God, are you kidding me? So possibly, there's possibly so many teas that I missed out on just from using the incorrect term. No, I'm just not even going to put that one down. It doesn't look like it. Like that kind of looks like it's not the rinse. And so that's the interesting thing of like that whole. And so that's first of all, it's a very, very interesting way. Yeah, like that's and I'm trying to sit there and I'm once again there's a language thing here, and I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to ask him to be like, okay, so when I went to this shop and I asked for this, did I completely fuck up, or did like yada yada yada, or like did they have it like by me asking this, was I not asking for this, or if I had asked for gao huo, would they have understood what I meant? And so, really, really interesting flavor on this one. This, by the way, this and the Baiji Guan will both be in the next Yancha sampler box, Yancha subscription box. What I'm going to do for the next subscription box is I'm going to label the teas, because in the last subscription box was a mystery. I'm going to label the teas, and there's going to be a third one. The madness going on behind me. I'm going to label, there's going to be 3 teas, 4 teas actually. And except for this 4th tea, 4th tea is something else. But out of the 3 teas, my goal is 2 of them is Zhengyan and 1 of them is not Zhengyan. I'm going to tell you which cultivar it is, but I'm not going to tell you which one's not Zhengyan. And the goal is, can you tell which one is Zhengyan and which one's not Zhengyan? And Zhengyan does have a pretty significant effect. It has it's anything with any good terroir. There's something that terroir gives, kind of no matter what. No, that's not true. Like sometimes, for most teas, there's something that terroir gives. There's always something that terroir gives that separates it material-wise. In different teas, it reflects itself in different ways. But This one almost tastes like clay in a way. It has a very like clay-like body, or like of like and thick and earthy, but like earthy clay. I really don't know how to describe it. It just makes me think of clay, like instead of like rock, clay, like from earth but softer. This is a tea that he said he did not make this year. Hey. So another reason, the reason I only went to one shop today, is because I messaged another maker who, no, not like Play-Doh, like earth clay, like more like the clay, like soil sort of clay. Like when you're digging and you hit clay, like that sort of clay. Has like that sort of earthy, it's like red clay. Yeah, no, not like Play-Doh, not like ceramics clay, like earth clay. I wouldn't mind putting this on the website, I'm not gonna lie. Because the roast is good. It's really interesting. And there is mineral need, because there's mineral, it's a little minerally. There is some mineralness to it. I am drinking Ji Jong. Qi I think is that what that second character is. Qi Jong. This was described to me as a more wild variety. You want to see the Baijiguan? Of course you do. The Baijiguan is in individual packets. Yeah, he said it's more of a wild variety, and I've heard something like this. Like when he was talking about it, something was ringing a bell about like there's like, okay, so you have like the main varietals, the Shuexians, the Baijiguans, the whatever. But then you have these other ones, and they're almost older, I think. They're like in this class of their own, and they're a little more undefined. They're a little more wild. They're a little more. This is not. Oh, can't say that. Almost did a spoiler for something. And they're a little more, yeah, a little more rough, a little more. And I remember Shunan at Tea Drunk talking about it years ago, and no one. I don't think anyone's really talked about it since, or not that I've seen. And so it's a thing, but definitely not talked about a lot, not known a lot. Other interesting thing that I realized is that I'm noticing that Wuyi makers are starting. I think they're starting to refer to cultivars by numbers. No, not true. And that was the spoiler because it's going to be in the next mystery box. No, not True Cliff. Not True Cliff. Not True Cliff. It's the mountainsides around True Cliff. Yeah, definitely not True Cliff, not half cliffs. Mountainsides, higher mountains. But I realized that, like, I think once again, if my Chinese is understanding it correctly, I think that Wuyi makers are starting to refer to some trees or some cultivars by numbers. Because at one point, and it's two makers, I think I've done this, where I've been like, okay, like what else do you have? And he was like, well, I have a 382 and 285, and I was like, what? And then I was like, oh, you guys are numbering your teas now, which makes sense. Instead of remembering names, you just remember numbers. So, we gotta check one thing. I gotta deal with that in a sec. Deal with that later. I gotta deal with that now. Sorry. There's some China stuff. Pumpkin. Got gonna be strange. Pumpkin. Hey. Yeah, and but even that was like, and so even that was Longjing 43, but makers will still call that Longjing. Like you never ask a maker, hey, what are you drinking? And they go 43. No, they go Longjing 43. Or they just say Longjing, and they say what cultivar? They say, oh, Longjing 43. This was like instead of saying, and I could be wrong here, but instead of saying Ban Tian Yao, they said 285. But I think it's just because Wuyi Shan has just a ridiculous amount of cultivars. What are you doing? Huh? Come here. No, don't. Come here. Come here. She's being hurt. I think they just have just a ridiculous amount of cultivars. Oh, God. Hi. Wish you guys could see the look she gives me. Yeah, and I kind of wonder if there's a relation between that and like the Puers and that, and like, well, the Puers they number them, so we can number them. Yeah. All right. That is probably going on the website. Hi. She could see this. It's just really cute. She's giving me big eyes. Okay, now you gotta stop. All right. Let's do a switch. Yeah. No, I got the joke, but I do wonder if there is if there's a relationship. If there is, they got the habit from that. I'm gonna send my boss a quick message. Pumpkin. I kind of feel like I know what it's about, but I'm sure. So we're going to switch to the Baiji Guan. We'll switch to the Baiji Guan. And to be honest, so what I was visiting today was not the university. It was a training school. It was a training school that I had known about for a while, and then actually another shop owner I visited brought it up. So I was like, hey, let me go check them out. But then when I got there, they were clearly very affected by all of the new regulations because their location had closed, and I messaged somebody, and they said they didn't do foreign teachers anymore. All right. Baiji Guan. This is Baiji Guan it. I am still in conversations with, I'm going to reach out. Wuyi Shan University is doing the thing where I ask them a question and they tell me they'll get back to me, and then they don't get back to me. And so tomorrow or this Wednesday, I'm going to talk to my boss, and he's messaging me now. I hope everything is okay. But I'm going to talk to boss because I was talking with this team maker today, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I can." He was like, "Oh yeah, I can get you a house next to the river where you can have your dogs, and only for like less than 2,000 kwai a month." And I was like, "Oh my god, that's exactly what I want." So here's the leaves. Once again, it's a computer, so I can't really. There is there's a light roast to them. If you look at like There's definitely a light roast. I don't think it's coming up. Um, I don't think it's coming up, but it's not overly light. Sometimes I've seen Baiji guans that were just like overly lighty, like barely roasted, and I was like, no. And they were really they were really weird. Fuding, no. Fuding, that's another guy. I got a message. I got hey, stop. Yeah, it's definitely, that's actually a good way to, you see, there's definitely a little more green to it, but it's not overly green. You can tell there's some roast. I'm actually in conversations, as long as we're talking about possible jobs. I'm in conversations with a restaurant owner. And the restaurant is in Yangzhou. Actually, shout out to Derek from One River Tea. Derek connected me to a restaurant owner who needs a wine sommelier. Well, he needs somebody who can give his restaurant a Western feel. He has a bistro. And I was like, I've worked in tons of restaurants. I'm your guy. And so that's a conversation too. But I would love to not teach English anymore. And a lot of good stuff. Yeah. That would be a lot of great things. Okay. But nothing is up. And this is actually, I don't have a lot of experience with Baiji Guan, but I like this roast more than I like roasts I've had before, because it's definitely lighter roasted, but it's suitable. Yeah, there's a lot of questions on that one. There's a lot of questions. I mean, we're in a WeChat group together, and I think he kind of knows my Chinese is limited. Um, and I don't know, maybe I'll be like a manager, which would be amazing. That would be the best. Um, it won't. I like restaurants. I've worked in a lot of restaurants. I prefer restaurants actually. I always said if I didn't get into tea, I'd be in bars. I'd be in the bar industry. Um, I mean, it's Mr. Fuck Sleep. Like, this is why I don't sleep, because I work in cocktail bars, and I've never, this is, I got used to staying up late and then sleeping till the afternoon, and yeah. Um, no, it would be actually, it would be interesting. Yeah, this is this is why I don't sleep. Fuck the morning. The fuck does the morning? Actually, no, mornings are amazing if you can get them. Um, but yeah, so but there's a lot of that conversation. It'd be really good because then I can also work in wines. They have a great wine selection. Um, it would actually be less stressful than it would be. It was funny. In the group, I was like, "Do you have any whiskeys?" And he was like, "No, but I like whiskey." And I was like, I kind of was like, "Hey, a few good whiskeys could really benefit a restaurant." And I said, a good, like, one bourbon, one Scotland, like one Scotch from Isles, and one rye. That's a great, that's that like. I feel like one bourbon, one rye, and one Scotch, like a smoky, peaty Scotch. Like, that would be really nice for a rest. Like, if a restaurant just had one of each, that would add a lot to the experience. Because it's actually, they heat the bistros. There's a lot of like food plates, a lot of pairings. Um, and so I think those three whiskeys would just offer a lot. And if I end up working there, it's something that I'm gonna kind of be like, hey, like if you want to be Western, let's talk whiskeys here. Still having wine be the focus, but like whiskeys, it's interesting. Whiskeys, and then I always thought of it's okay. Talking about tea in restaurants and how I do restaurants, I think one of my goals for the day when I finally go back to America, and probably sooner, but eventually, one of my major tea goals is to really get into restaurants. Because I think restaurants are losing a lot of opportunities and a lot of income and a lot of experience, customer experience, by not having a developed tea service. I mean, even when I worked in a Chinese restaurant, they had like a couple teas that they just threw into a small pot, and they're like, okay, and like the staff was not educated on it. If you went to a restaurant and the teas had a nice developed part of the menu, and you could have servers who were able to talk about the teas. Um, First of all, for the restaurant, for the customer, just to have that experience of like, whoa, like this restaurant knows their teas, like they're no joke. That would be great. And then yeah, there's that's one of my goals. That's kind of my main thing. I think restaurants, yeah, yeah, tea shop would be great. That's one person once called me. One customer at Tea Drunk once said I was the real Uncle Iroh, and it's one of the best compliments I've ever gotten. The only other compliment that comes near it, hey, there's one with a T. Yeah, well, yeah, and that I think that's going to be the struggle getting into restaurants. Um, is just kind of it's going to be those first few restaurants, and then it's going to be developing developing a system where servers can quickly learn the teas and how to brew the teas, and a system for the servers. Are we doing teapots? Are we doing gaiwans? Are we filling up the gong dao bay and leaving it on the table? Are we, there's a lot of, are we doing cups maybe? That's probably the best one. Are we doing multiple brews? Are we, there's a lot of, and so when I think about this, one of the things I actually think about is starting actually really reduce prices or even for free. Like if I approach a restaurant and I say, okay, I'll give you free tea, but you need to let me have creative control and full support on how I serve it and how we serve it, and how we develop the program. Kind of have a couple like beta restaurants. And I want restaurants. I don't want cafes. I don't want to be another tea shop trying to sell to cafes. Um, every now and then there's like a tea shop who tries to sell to cafes and they act like it's the greatest fucking idea in the world. And they're like, yeah, I reached out to cafes. I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work. Like, yeah, the coffee people. Um, what if it's just in my head? I think I have that kind of clay, that earthy clay note, kind of just stuck in my. Yeah, hi. We're gonna be. Come on, come on. You just dip. Okay. And you want to go down? Okay, you go down. Right next to the boiling water. Um, oh, God, I gotta. Pumpkin, leave it. Shit. Give me those eyes. Fahad, remind me to message you. I talked to Alex from One River Tea, and I got a little bit of updates on your package. It's good. It's good tea. And that's the thing. It's one of these teas where like I don't drink a lot of Baiji Guan, so I don't really know like where this falls. And there's definitely some apple cinnamon notes, kind of like that caramelized appleness to it. There's a little bit of spice actually, and kind of that's getting a lot of like the inside of an apple pie, like no crust. Yeah, but like a little more sugary because it has that caramelized sugar sort of flavor. It was, I think, and once again, I don't know a lot about Baiji Guan. I think a little more aroma would have been nicer. Like they could just put air with the amount of stuff they surround in those commercials. Part of complete breakfast, and then in the picture, there's like 2 eggs and orange juice, milk, toast. Like, yeah, if you with that much extra stuff, you could put fucking tea in the middle and surround it with all that stuff. Part of a complete breakfast. Body, and it actually it has kind of the body and texture of a if you took a shui xian and you like a light roasted shui xian, it has that body and texture, but it fits better. And so I think this is that idea, and this is that suitable roast. It doesn't feel like it's lacking anything. Yeah, and that's definitely it's a lighter roast, but it feels more together than let's say a light roast shui xian. Like you drink a light roast shui xian, and I'm just like, this feels like it's lacking. This doesn't feel like it's lacking. The structure is good. It's balanced. Let's pour that in the cup. The maker today, or the tea shop owner and the maker, um, he he had choco. He had choco bamboo, the bamboo choco stuff. He had that in his boiling water. And he suggested I use that. He was using that. I think right as I'm feeling it right now, and as someone who I might have had 3 Baiji in my life, or at least my time in China. Um, it shows a lot of characteristics as a light roast, as some of the other light roast teas, but it's just more balanced. It's just more. It doesn't feel as experimental. It feels like this. It feels right. It has that X factor. It has that just like, yeah, this is right. This is good. This is what it's supposed to be. You're looking at me funny, pumpkin. Yeah, it's about time to go out. I will put some aside for you, Fahad. Um, and maybe I'll put if when I talk to Alex and see what his yeah, I'll get you some of this, Fahad. Next chance I get, I'll get you some of this. That's warm in my belly. Um, so yeah, the other maker, the third tea that's going to be the third main tea that's going to be in in the next subscription box is going to be from a different maker who also I know makes very good teas. And he actually has he's from Wuyi, and he does Wuyi teas, obviously, but he has a small shop in Shanghai, and he has like one of these, and like in those tea markets, he has one of those little shops, like tiny shops. Um, but he makes really good tea. He makes really good tea. Yeah, he was one of the original guys that I tasted Mato Yen from. Wonderful. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I guess just gentlemen, that's my show. Oh, I like that. I'm gonna start ending that now. That's my show. Um, everyone's teas has been sent out. There are no more Malfung orders. Um, no more pre-sale orders. The tea combos. Ding. Nice. There are no more pre-sale orders. Everything I need to send out now are new orders that have come in the last week. I don't think I've sent. I think even the shipper has received everything, and I've given addresses for everything. Yeah, and then tracking numbers are coming as soon as possible. Um, yeah. Yep, that's it. All right. Thank you all. Wu-Tang Clan.